The McCaskey family plans to own the Bears for the next 100 years. And it sure sounds like the Bears are moving to Arlington Heights. The CHGO Bears Podcast starts right now. We are wrapping up the owners' meetings, day 3. Nobody doing it as good as we are here at CHGO Bears. Greg Braggs was up at 6:30 thinking about his life and getting ready to cut clips, which he's been doing all morning long. What a performance by Greg Braggs. Adam Hoge down in Florida, man on the street, talking to George McCaskey, talking to Kevin Warren, Stephen Nicholas, doing everything that he does. And I'm here.
Adam, you'll be excited to know that it's pouring and freezing here in Chicago. We look forward to you returning.
It's not
I'm not
freezing.
too excited. Well, I'm not too excited about that because I believe my plane is sitting at O'Hare right now, and it needs to get down here. Otherwise, guys, I don't know. I might just have to stay down here for one more day, which would be horrible.
Yeah, we cannot put you through the torture of another 75-degree day in the sun at the Breakers or wherever you are right now. New look today, bro. We got a tree in the background. I feel like you might actually be at the, are you at a Comfort Inn right now? Where are you?
I'm still at the Breakers, still here.
Yeah, looks very Comfort Inn-y to me.
Instead of other media people around me, there's actual hotel guests today wondering who I am and why I'm going to be yelling about the Chicago Bears for the next 30 minutes.
46, buddy. You're in for 3 segments. Know that. All right. On that note, let's get into it here. As pretty eventful day down there for George and Kevin, and we'll get to the stadium talk here in a second. But George McCaskey coming out of the gates here. That was Adam Johns with the question, correct, to George about, and I thought Adam actually did a great job of delicately asking, like, hey, your mom's passed away. I don't know exactly how to ask this, but, what's the plan, the future of the team? So why don't we play that? I thought George did a great job answering it. Everything it was a tender moment, and also with a lot of information here. So here's the Bears chairman, George McCaskey, on what the future plans of the Chicago Bears are.
Okay. We've said for many years that we intend to own the Bears for as long as possible. Another 100 years would be great. She set it up for us to accomplish that. She gave us the playbook. She coached us up. Now we got to execute the plan, and we're prepared to do that. We got to stick together.
So I think anybody who's lost a parent, or perhaps even or any loss really, can understand the emotion there from George. And I'll just listening to that, I was actually thinking about, my 99-year-old dad who wants me and my brothers to take him to the cemetery so he can show us how to do it when he passes away, like giving you the plans, because that's what parents do. And then, like, for him to be sitting there and thinking about how his mother set this up so he and his family can own the Bears. I get all the emotion there. And so it was cool to see that come to be with George. A very human moment there, Hoge.
Yeah, 100%. And it doesn't really matter the age of your mother. But when you lose your mom, it's a tough thing. And so understandably still emotional about it. And it is, so it was an awkward question, but one that obviously had to be asked today. I was thinking to myself how I was going to ask it if it wasn't going to be asked in front of me. And I agree with you. I thought Johns did a good job with it, because it is something that needs to be addressed, not only publicly, but literally within the ownership group of the Chicago Bears and the McCaskey family. Um, Now the answer did not surprise me. I know there's been a lot of chatter and speculation, which is understandable. Whenever the top member of a family that owns anything passes away, it's going to create questions about the future ownership of and operation of that company. And this is the first time George McCaskey has spoken publicly since Virginia passed away. So the answer didn't really surprise me because I didn't really think that the Bears would have any plans um, to sell the team after all this. I think, and we're going to intertwine the stadium talk into this and go into that part of it soon. But you, the timing of all that's very awkward too, because you could argue the stadium would increase the value of the team, and certainly it would, but it's not going to be done for a long, long time. So it's not like the McCaskeys are going anywhere anytime soon. And then based on that answer, 100 years would be another 100 years would be great. It certainly doesn't give you the impression that anything's going to change long term either.
Yeah, and this is where it gets slightly awkward too, because the fact of the matter is that this is the 40th anniversary since the Bears won the Super Bowl. And I think that, there's a lot of Bears fans who've been yelling for a long time, sell the team. They yelled it this year at the Lions game, and they're not selling the team. And that's not a surprise to anybody, but it's also like, is there an understanding in the organization of what's gone wrong and what's the plan going forward? And then further, where I got today, it's like, well, George isn't a young guy either. So like, how much longer does he want to be the chairman? What's the succession plan there? What does that look like? There's just, there's a lot of questions that they're not ready to answer right now, but I think that's what's on the minds of Bears fans.
Well,
right now.
I think for me as a fan, it just, in Chicago, we as fans, just show us that you care. Okay, you're going to make mistakes, and it hasn't been pretty, and we've certainly been vocal and critical of that. But we know with a particular owner in this city where he's even said in media interviews how much he doesn't value, just winning championships. He just wants to stay in it, right? And so, okay, they've made mistakes, but you'll win all the fans over if you start trying to change what you've done from a process standpoint. You build a stadium, you build a winning organization, you put a winning product on the field and start winning championships. You look at the Kansas City Chiefs, their fans, did not like the Hunts. And then all of a sudden it turned the corner. Obviously Patrick Mahomes had a lot to do with that, but at the same time, it shows you, how things can turn, and they certainly can turn here in Chicago for the Bears.
Well, that's why we had this conversation a couple of weeks ago that could Ben Johnson be the Bears' Andy Reid? I'm not saying they're the same thing. Andy had a lot more success in the league and obviously just a ton more experience than when Ben got here. But look, they've invested $13 million a year in a head coach. They've never done that before. They are in the process of building a world-class stadium. We'll get to Kevin Warren and all the world-classness and the great sites and everything coming up in a little bit here. To me, it's never really been about caring. It's about competence. And
Well,
Kevin is here because they wanted to up the level of confidence. Obviously, there's, go ahead.
Yeah, but that's what I was going to say. I mean, I think the idea or the frustration with ownership kind of ended when they made the very bold decision to go out and hire Kevin Warren, the commissioner of the Big Ten, which was a massive departure from what had up to that point really been either family members in charge or, in Ted Phillips's case, somebody that had been there for so long that he was basically a member of the family. And so I thought, like, if you had told me when Ted Phillips retires, what would be the most likely outcome of the succession plan at team president, I would say they probably would have promoted from within because that's what the playbook said.
Right.
And I think that if they had done that, and just pushed up another member of the family or somebody who had been there forever, that would have been more of an indication of okay, like this is just what direction is this actually going in? How much do they actually care? And I would understand some frustrations with ownership, but at this point, they go out, they get Kevin Warren. They've been serious about this stadium. They massively doubled and upgraded Hallis Hall. Like the era of George McCaskey as chairman has not been. It's been filled with losses, and it's been filled with bad hires. Especially at head coach, but it's also been filled with a lot of money being poured into important resources. That to me tells me that they are trying. They've, to Greg's point, they've just made mistakes, and that's different because we have other owners in this town right now, specifically the one that owns the White Sox and the Bulls, where you do constantly wonder, okay, where is this thing actually headed? And is it just stagnant? I don't think the Bears are stagnant at all right now.
No, you don't pay $13 million to Ben Johnson,
Right.
instead of the retread veteran John Fox type coach. That's not stagnant.
Right, and everything else you underline. I mean, listen, they could have their facilities could still suck. They don't. They've got great facilities. That's a lot of money to spend. They're trying to make it world class. Kevin was in their mind, a world class hire. Now they got to actually execute, and a lot of it will come down to ultimately the quarterback. But hey, just along those lines is, it's thinking creatively and trying to bring more money in. This was an interesting question that Courtney Cronin asked about private equity, because how are they going to pay for everything? And if if they want to keep upgrading, maybe they want to bring in some more dough. So George was asked about that, whether or not that's on the table.
I know when we talked to you in October in London about private equity, you said that that's not something that the Bears are looking at right now, and that you anticipated, I think, in December that there might be a team that gets involved. Where do you stand on that today?
Well, since then, a couple of teams have employed private equity. It's something that we're continuing to look at. Kevin's going to give a report to the board at our May meeting, and it may be utilized as part of our stadium construction financing plan, but we haven't made a decision yet.
So, Hoge, I'm curious your read on this, because I thought that maybe they would bring in private equity if they were actually hell-bent on staying in Chicago to make that work, because there doesn't seem to be any help coming their way. Whereas if now they're going to Arlington Heights, which is what it seems like, and they're just asking for help with infrastructure and not on the stadium, I would think it's less likely they bring in private equity. Am I reading that right? No, you say no.
No,
Okay, go
because
ahead.
they have to spend way more of their own money in Arlington Heights, where they wouldn't have owned the stadium in the city, so they would have gotten more help in public funding for the actual stadium. So in this case, you dip into the private equity, and that's basically liquidating the value of the sitting value of your franchise, which I think we all realize the Bears are worth a lot of money. And then they can take that and put it towards the stadium, and perhaps have it paid off. I mean, I'm not saying the whole thing. I don't know the exact numbers, but you know, Kevin Warren did. I've talked about this on the show before. Came up with a creative way to get U.S. Bank Stadium. It's already paid off, guys. Because they use pull tabs in the state of Minnesota. Which if you walk into a bar in Minnesota, they always have pull tabs. There's usually a pull tab machine. The revenue generated from those got them to a point where they were able to pay that thing off really, really fast. So I think it's a no-brainer for the Bears if they are going to Arlington Heights and they are going to have to spend more of their own money. It's just going to continue to be a cash cow because the value of the team is going to continue to skyrocket. They're going to own their own stadium, and they're going to also own all of that land and that mixed use development around the stadium too, which is going to be a cash cow. So I think this makes a lot of sense. It's an awkward thing, I think, for a team that's been family owned for 105 years to dip into private equity. But I think right now, as the Bears continue to move into this century and this world of the NFL, it's another sign that they're playing a more modern way of owning an NFL football team right now. It's more similar to the rest of the league, and I think that there is sort of a way that you can still keep the old values of what the Bears have been, while also monetarily using what Kevin Warren has done throughout his career with finances and money to get the best of both worlds.
So when we're talking about private equity, like who are we talking about? Are we
Me and you, dude.
Are we talking about like somebody with a lot of money that wouldn't be front facing? Are we talking about Mark Cuban? Are we talking about Jeff Bezos?
It's
No.
like no. We're talking about like there's not even they're private equity firms. Like this is getting really in the weeds, and I admittedly don't know everything about it, but you can buy in to basically a private equity fund, and it's going to own a little bit of a bunch of different things, and you don't necessarily know all of those details. So the easiest way to explain it is it's not like an actual human coming into it. It's a private equity firm that's going to come in, buy a certain share of the Bears. That's going to be liquid cash that the Bears can then go use. And then that firm will later on be able to sell their shares or whatever for a lot more money. And anybody who's doing that with an NFL franchise it's pretty much guaranteed to get a good ROI, return on investment.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if they brought in some huge name to buy up 10% of the Bears. That's not how I think this would go. This is
No.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it could be Brandon Spano.
Brandon Spano. The wheels are already turning.
You never know. Don't box that man in. He's always thinking up something. All right, let's get to the stadium and Kevin Warren. Some of that coming up here. And there's actually a couple more clips we're going to play for George before the show's over today. But first, this kind of falls in line with what we're talking about. Our shout out to our friends at Bet365, which is live in Illinois. Perhaps, somehow we could pay up the stadium with a little help from Bet365. Look, it's never ordinary. It's always sweet. And they have an incentive for you to try out Bet365. So all you got to do, sign up. You can deposit $10, $10 deposit. You make a $5 bet. They're hooking you up with $150 in bonus bets that you can play around and hopefully turn that $150 into a whole lot more money and have a ton of fun doing it on Bet365. They have an MLB early payout offer for you right now. When you use the Bet365 early payout offer, you're a winner if your team goes ahead by 5 runs. So you wouldn't have won last night with the Cubs, but you would have won the night before. By the way, Cubs made it to 500. Way to go, Cubs. Download the app. Use the code CHGO365 when you sign up. So once again, code is CHGO365. Deposit $10. Place a bet for $5. $150 in bonus bet. Win or lose. Bonus bets can be used on spreads, on totals, on player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. You do have to be 21 or older. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. Shout out to our friends at Bet365. Yes? Yes, Greg?
Yeah, and I wanted to give a shout out here to our friends over at Empire Today.
Okay.
Some of my favorite memories growing up were going to the Empire store. It's like a maze of carpets. You get lost, you go through them. It was awesome. No, seriously. There's a sweet.
But you got a lot into trouble in there.
I'd got in a lot of trouble there, and I want to give a shout out to Empire Today. Just like your favorite team needs a home court, home field advantage, your home needs a home floor advantage, and Empire Today can help you get it. Empire Today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. We've all been to those big box stores. You wander endlessly around the aisles. Then somehow you're hauling all these materials home, looking for an installer and coordinating everything yourself. Those big box stores might have a flooring department, but the person helping you with flooring may have been doing sinks yesterday or laying bricks and could be stocking light bulbs
you don't
tomorrow.
Want that guy.
You don't want that. You want the Empire Today guys. And so, why is Empire Today your best bet for a new floor? Well, Empire Today lives and breathes flooring, and they will be with you every step of the way. It's a whole different ballgame with Empire. So with Empire Today, you get clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing, plus you can schedule installation as soon as the next day. Obviously, nobody likes to wait. So schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. CHGO listeners can receive a $350 discount when using the promo code CHGO. Yes, you heard right. A $350 discount with code CHGO. Restrictions apply. Visit Empire Today /CHGO for full details.
All right, let's.
Alex Flores in our chat during the first segment of trying to understand private equity. He said Braggs' head is in a pretzel.
You're not alone. It's a little bit
a lot of learning.
Yeah, well, that's what we're constantly doing.
It's not my strength. It's not my strength either, guys. But sometimes
we
got nailed by a bird. Did you guys see that? A bird just almost like killed me.
If Hoge gets a number 2 dropped on him in the middle of this show,
you get attacked by a bird on this show,
that could be good for ratings.
That would be great for ratings.
Yeah,
So we are rooting.
I'll take. I will take one for the team for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of, if you're enjoying the Hoge performance down in Florida at the Breakers, hit the like button. Appreciate that. If you're a first-time watcher right now, hit the subscribe button as well. CHGO Bears here Monday through Friday at noon, pre- and post-game during the season, breaking Bears trades or whatever we're breaking in. And, of course, all the rest of the content that you get right here at CHGO. Mm-hmm. I watched the Bulls show on the way home last night from the United States. They were phenomenal. It was a really great job. So shout out to Peck and Big Dave crushing it last night, and my guy Will Gottlieb. All right, let us hear from Kevin Warren. Kevin Warren, the CEO, the president. Give us an update on the stadium, my friend.
I'll tell you the focus now is both downtown and Arlington Heights. And so, one thing, I've said it before, these are not linear processes or projects. They take time. They take a lot of energy and effort. I am very, very pleased with where we are. I think we collectively as a group are where we thought we would be. I know specifically I'm where I thought we would be at this point in time. We just finished Q1 last night, starting Q2 now. The pace will definitely pick up, and we're fortunate to have optionality. And as I said, downtown from a museum campus standpoint, there's been some discussion about the Michael Reese site, but then also Arlington Heights is I keep going back to it. It's an absolutely fantastic piece of land. I think George and his family had a hefty workout this morning, so I'm still trying to cool down. Aaron, can you cool down a little bit in here? For having the foresight, the McCaskey family, led by George, to have the foresight to purchase that land in Arlington Heights, but to be able to find 326 acres that close to a wonderful city is difficult to do. I don't know if it exists anywhere in the country. And so where we are right now with both the museum campus, downtown, and especially Arlington, is that we're really getting serious about the feasibility studies. And so we're doing traffic studies, not only for Arlington Heights, because we have to be sensitive to the surrounding communities, but also to the surrounding communities, and feasibility studies, financial feasibility studies. As you all are aware, our financial markets are settling in. I mean, they're moving around. And so every single day we're looking at the cost of raw materials to build a stadium, what steel costs, how that's coming along, and then the financial markets, because what you have to do is you get these deals structured, and then it comes down simultaneously is to make sure you put the capital stack together that it makes financial sense. And so we've been working on that.
So a little bit of a long clip there, but a lot of ground to cover and a lot of moving parts there, financial markets, the whole thing.
Yeah.
But the most noticeable thing here, Hoge, is that we've got two options. Before, 3 months ago, last month, our focus is the museum campus, so a major shift.
Right, and that's where you got to kind of read between the lines here a little bit and understand that, this is definitely a pivot. We sat in a similar conference room last year in Orlando with Kevin Warren at the same exact time at the owners' meetings, and the message there was very different. I mean, it was museum campus, the city, that's our focus. And so, kind of translating all that, Arlington Heights is the priority now, and trying to get all the infrastructure in place that they need to do. Maybe they go down the private equity road to be able to get, that's how they get their money to be able to do this. There's lots of different options here. The one thing I think is important in there in terms of the timing, all that jargon, that's a little overwhelming that you heard from Kevin. It matters, though, what's going on with the financial markets, these tariffs, all this stuff. It impacts construction costs. So one of the things he said a little bit later on was because I guess one option you could do is wait, right? Like, why kind of wait all this out? Maybe it'll be cheaper in a year. That's not what their plan is because they know that there's no guarantee of that. In fact, it's actually the exact opposite, both in terms of what they need to get done in Springfield politically. The session only runs till basically the end of May. If you're going to put shovels in the ground this year, this has to come together. I know he said 3 to 6 months, but I mean, they really got to have their stuff together here in the next 2 months. And honestly, if I had to guess, I think some of this stuff's already far enough, farther down the road than he even let on today, in speaking with us. So we're either going to get significant movement here on the stadium in Arlington Heights. I would say within maybe in the next month, or if they have to go back and do more leverage and there's a Hail Mary from the city or something like that that comes in and all this, then that's just going to continue to stretch this thing out probably into 2026. And that's where these construction costs probably just keep going up and up and up every single year.
Well, and taxes too. I mean, he mentioned it at some point during his, 30 minutes talking to the media where he said, we just want assurances that the taxes that we're having to pay are that, and they're not going to keep going up. They want some kind of assurances of, okay, this is what the taxes are. It's a fair deal. We want to be, quality paying citizens, or however he phrased it. And we just don't want you pushing the taxes up down the road.
Yeah, and as a member of the public here, I too, Kevin Warren, would like assurances that my taxes are going to stay the same, and I guarantee you that they absolutely will not.
And the other thing he pointed out too was that both downtown and in Arlington Heights is within Cook County, so I found that to be interesting too.
Right, because he wants to give back and make this a win-win for the people of Illinois, for the people of Chicago, and I absolutely 100% believe Kevin when he says that. And if you really listen to Kevin talk at any press conference, the man is a phenomenal politician. He has a lot going on in his head as to who he can say something positive about and not burn any bridges. And he was talking about the old mayor of Arlington Heights going out, Tom Hayes. He's talking about the new mayor coming in. He's talking about he's talking about Governor Pritzker. He's going every which way here. I mean, he had it all flying through there, and he gets it all out. Hoge, I see you shaking your head here. It's impressive, right? There's a reason why Kevin has achieved this level of success in his life.
No, there's no question he's good at it. There's no question about that at all. Now I do think another wrinkle in this, that I would share is if they do go to Arlington Heights, my understanding is like they still need some votes. Remember, there's still infrastructure they need to figure out there in terms of highways, sewers. There is public funding that is needed. It just doesn't have to do with the actual stadium construction. And my understanding is like they're still going to need votes in Springfield, and some of those votes are coming from the city. People who represent districts in the city are going to have to ultimately vote and sign off on Arlington Heights too, if that's how this goes. So I'm wondering if there's going to have to be some concessions made. What those look like, whether it's helping to pay off Soldier Field. I don't really know, but there's when Kevin Warren says all these things, and you're talking about Carman right there, making sure everybody's happy, and he's mentioning the right people. There is a lot at play, and this is really complicated. As he said, these deals are very complicated to pull off, and that's part of the reason why it's been taking so long.
Let's play one more clip from Kevin here, and he explains why, as he really wanted the stadium in the city. So why exactly is Arlington Heights back in the picture?
Yeah, I think, and fortunately, I have to look back to go forward. When we had this very similar type of process in Minnesota. I mean, when you start this journey, one of the things that I promised George when I came on to the Bears was you can't go into these deals with your mind made up. You need to have a direction and to be very focused and detailed, but you can't go and say, well, this is where it's going to be. And so one thing about Arlington Heights, as I said, I always try to look for the positive elements and to have that beautiful piece of land that has the great topography. You can actually see downtown, from there. To have the, Salt Creek that runs in between it, it's almost split equally from an acreage standpoint. And you think about the Metro stops. I mean, it has a Arlington Park location there. So I would just say it's still, making sure that we're being diligent, because this is the Chicago Bears have never had their own stadium. I mean, you think in 105-year, history. And so this is a critical decision. These buildings last for 40 or plus years. And so the communication, like with Mayor Johnson and his colleagues, is still very strong. And but they're different locations. You think about the museum campus, there would be a small, mixed use development there, but the infrastructure is tight. I still will say it is there is no more beautiful piece of land in the world, to have that as beautiful as Lake Michigan is, to have that right near a stadium. But you have to look at all the pluses and minuses there. You look at Michael Reese, it's a great historical community from a Bronzeville standpoint, the Michael Reese Hospital, but the site is narrow. It's a narrow site. It abuts train tracks, and we always have to look from a safety standpoint, which is critically important. Arlington Heights is unique. I don't think there's another piece of land like this in the world. Because the biggest thing for me is I represent the family's interests. I not only look at this generation, but I really say it, and I seriously mean it. Like, this is a decision that will impact this franchise for the next 100 years. And the biggest thing that my focus will continue to be on, is the fan experience. And you look at the impact of take the Super Bowl, for example. You look at the impact that it had 2 years ago in Las Vegas. Not only the economic, but the operation and business. And then you look at the impact in New Orleans, and you look at what's planning in San Francisco. So I think Arlington Heights, what makes that intriguing, there's a lot of work left to be done. I mean, obviously it's still not done because we still are working with the city of Chicago. But is to now that we can get into economic feasibility, transportation feasibility, ingress and egress. How do people get in and out of the site? What else will be there to be a mixed-use development with hotels and restaurants, other sporting events, potentially housing, but we also need to be sensitive to the surrounding communities.
So that was a long of words and a long winding road, and he's super fired up about the Metro stop now in Arlington Heights. This has got to be music to the ears of the new mayor in Arlington Heights. He was a longtime architect, village trustee. His name is Jim Tinalia. And Kevin called him last night to congratulate him as Tom Hayes is moving along after a long, almost 20-year run as the mayor. Tinalia it's not, when you look at it, you would think it's Tinaglia, Tinaglia. And I don't think that Kevin has quite gotten the pronunciation down yet on the new mayor's name, so he's got to get that done.
It's not Tinaglia.
No, it's phonetically it's Tinahyuh. Tinalia, right?
That's
Tinalia.
not phonetically. That's, you just spelled it. That's
no, it's spelled Tinaglia. It's pronounced Tinalia. So I am right. That's phonetically.
Okay.
Spelling that phonetically for you, Hoge. So
well,
no,
did you call Tinalia yesterday and congratulate him?
I didn't, and that's a bad job by me.
Isn't that more important? Yeah, I mean, isn't that more important than...
Listen, he made the phone call. That's true. I did not. Warren better than Carm. Fair enough.
You should call him to end the show.
Okay. I'll give Jim a call, and he's certainly welcome on the show.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think most Bears fans are starting to lean towards Arlington Heights. I mean, we put a poll on Twitter that it says 73% of fans would prefer it in Arlington Heights. So not only I think we all feel this is inevitable, but I think most fans would prefer it at this point with all the amenities that we could have at our disposal as fans, to not just go to Super Bowls, but to see Purdue in the Final Four, to see, the WrestleMania, to see concerts and everything else in between. And that's why I thought the one question you asked, Hoge, and we'll dial this up before we get to our next break, but asking about, like, if they are to put shovels in the ground, do they already have a stadium plan in place so they can get this expedited a little faster once they finally do get the approval?
Yeah, let's
Hold on, he's gonna play it.
Oh, he's gonna play it. Oh,
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Is the actual stadium, like, where are those plans? Are they pretty much
Yes.
almost finalized
Yes,
regardless of the
yeah.
location?
One of the things that we tried to do, a couple things we did. One, we were provided the resources with George and his family to make sure that Arlington Heights, that we continued that process. So as you all know, the grandstands have been, taken down. All remediation has been done. The site is pad ready. And so we were able to do that. And then in designing the stadium, working with David Manica, we did it in a manner that it was able to move in any different location. Now, constantly we're on it. It's just like anything else. You're tweaking it and making it even better. But it's in a position, we're at schematic design, where we are over 50%, done. So we've made really good process, and progress. It's beautiful. And the good thing about it, it fits in any location that we'll be in. So we spend a lot of time.
I do wonder with, Chim, our good friend from Detroit in the chat saying New Orleans, Miami, Tampa, and Arizona, those are the places that will continue to get a lot of Super Bowl rotation. I do wonder with Kevin Warren's experience in Minnesota that if they try to create something in Arlington Heights where there's a sky bridge like in Indianapolis where hotels and restaurants and everything are connected inside so you don't have to be outside, which would open the door to being able to get more than just one Super Bowl.
Yeah, if I think chances are that it's going to be a one and done Super Bowl situation. It's way more likely that they will be guaranteed a Super Bowl by building the stadium. The NFL will grant that, but to view it as a place that they're going to maybe they come back 15 years later, 20 years later, something like that. I mean, as far as I know, like it's a long shot that Minnesota will get another one, even though I actually thought it was a great Super Bowl that was held
Minnesota,
there.
Both Minnesota and Indianapolis Super Bowls were great.
No,
yeah. Here's the problem though. Like
wasn't.
one thing has changed significantly even since Indy hosted the Super Bowl. There is an insane security perimeter put around the stadium now, and I've been told that one of the biggest problems with the Michael Reese site is a potential stadium site, even beyond how narrow it is. So a couple issues there. One is he just told me, you guys heard the clip, the stadium design is pretty much done. Like the at least what they need done to start construction. Well, that tells me Michael Reese is pretty much off the table, right? Because they're going to have to change that to be in such a narrow spot. But also when it comes to Super Bowls, I don't think the perimeter around there. I think I mentioned this on the show before. I think that's a problem in the NFL's eyes. So I think that's why I know Michael Reese was brought up today, but I don't see that as a realistic option. There hasn't even been an actual proposal brought to the Bears yet on that one. And so I think that would be a long shot.
Yeah. And look, Hoge and I both covered the Super Bowl in Minnesota, and Hoge loved it. It sucked. It was freezing outside. I couldn't find the entrance where you had to get into the mall. I'm walking around. It's 1 degree out there. I was working it for Fanside at the time. We did a video of me sitting on the ice. Nobody wants to go to some cold weather city for the Super Bowl. They'll get it once, but
I will say
you want to go somewhere warm. You want to be in New Orleans. It's not going to work.
Well, and I will say that Indianapolis did get lucky because the week of the Super Bowl was unseasonably warm. And that weekend, the last 2 days leading up to the game, we were literally all outside in shorts and short sleeves in Indianapolis in beginning of February, which a lot of times is unheard of.
Yeah.
So we did. I will concede that aspect of it.
That being said, though, real quick, I know we got a break. Multiple Big Ten championships, I would think. Final Fours, plural, I think would be on the table. What I would want to know, and I don't think we'll know this until whatever they built is done. But obviously, one of the concerns is you are getting away from downtown Chicago, and it is a great metro. It's ridden that metro line and stopped at that stop when I used to go to Arlington Park as a kid growing up in the city. But that I wonder how much that will affect these big events coming back. Because I would imagine if you have the Super Bowl in Chicago, you're still going to have like we're going to be on Radio Row. We're probably going to be in downtown Chicago all week. We're not going to be out by the stadium doing that type of stuff. And how that all works for big events like the Final Four will impact how much they actually come back and continually use the new stadium in Arlington Heights.
Excellent underlining right there. When we come back in 1 second here, not that we're going anywhere, but George talked about the Tush Push, and it was interesting why the Bears voted the way they did. So we'll do that next. But first, shout out to our friends at Monarch Money. I'm kind of a mess financially right now, not to get too personal. And I was on the app today, and it was just giving me a little more peace of mind as how you know what, Carm? Next time you go on vacation, don't get the $450 couples massage, and your balance will look a whole lot better. It just, is just underlining right out at me. So thank you to our friends at Monarch Money. If you're having a tough time tracking where your money goes, you want to get involved with Monarch Money and start managing your finances to build a life you actually want. So you can have the lunch that you want, the dinner you want, or whatever. If you're, even more basic than that, help your kids, have the sweet pair of socks that they've been looking for. Monarch Money is the finance tool that people actually love. Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app in 2025. It ain't getting easier out there. So do yourself a favor. Give yourself a little bit of an edge. The top recommended personal finance app by users, experts, 30,000 five-star reviews. Get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use the code CHGO at monarchmoney.com in your browser. Put that code in there, and you get 50% off your first year. monarchmoney.com. Use the code CHGO.
That's right. I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Lucy. It's great, man. Lucy nicotine. Your nicotine adventure always starts with Lucy. When I go on their website, anybody that knows me knows I always got a pack of gum in my pocket, and that's what I always hit up is Lucy. For the berry citrus, you can get a 9-pack. Those of you that love coffee, you can even get an espresso flavor. So let's level up your nicotine routine with Lucy. Go to lucy.co/CHGO and use the promo code CHGO2025 to get 20% off your first order. Lucy has a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. Again, that's lucy.co and use the code CHGO to get 20% off. And here comes the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical, but make sure you're hitting up Lucy if you're looking for some quality nicotine.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
All right. Let us, George made a lot of sense today, and I thought he made the part that I like the most is when he talks about the Tush Push. Why don't we play it first and then get your reaction?
I agree.
I'm
serious.
This was some good George, man. I thought his logic was strong. So the Bears voted against the Tush Push. Of course, it did not pass. There weren't enough. It's still in the NFL, but he was asked why, and George's explanation I thought made a whole lot of sense.
George, what was your stance on the Tush Push? I know it was an even 16-16 split. Where did you fall on the vote?
We supported the proposal to get rid of it.
How come?
Health and safety. I know they say that we don't have sufficient injury data on it, but to us it appears to be an inherently unsafe play. I had the opportunity during committee meetings here earlier in the month to sit in the back of the room for the Health and Safety Committee meeting. And both Dr. Alan Sills and Dr. John York expressed concerns about the safety of everybody involved in that play. And, for decades there was a rule on the books making it illegal to push the runner. And it went away in 2004, and I always wondered why that happened. And Rich McKay, the chairman of the competition committee, explained to us yesterday that the officials said that it was too difficult when there was like a moving scrum down the field to determine whether an offensive lineman was blocking or pushing the runner. So they took it out, which led to the push play. From what I understand yesterday, the discussion about the push play is going to lead to a broader examination of whether that general rule should be brought back. And again, we think it'd be an enhancement to the game to make it safer for the players.
All right, Hoge, you get to go first here, and then we're going to talk about my days playing Killer Maru. So, which was terrifying.
Go first, Hoge, please.
Because
I don't even know what that means.
It doesn't seem. I think it's a logical thing. You want a pile of 22 dudes who weigh 300 pounds, all put in a tight space. Seems dangerous to me.
So here's though where this has gone that I'm a little surprised by. And you heard it from George. By the way, the Bears supporting a Packers proposal is worth mentioning here because the Packers feel very strongly against the Tush Push, and the Bears are backing them. George actually spoke on this. So the sessions they had this week, it's an open mic situation, and George was actually one of the owners that got up there and made his case. So I thought that was interesting. And the where I guess it was inevitable that the discussion was going to shift to this, but I'm not. Let me just ask you this: do you guys have a problem with running back is 20 yards downfield? The linemen come in and they help them the last 7 yards get across the end zone because we see that all the time. And that apparently is where this discussion has gone. If we're going to ban the tush push at the line of scrimmage, then we need to just go back to the rule in 2004 where you can't push teammates. And I don't know if that's necessary. I don't necessarily have a strong opinion either way, but I'm a little uneasy that it seems like these discussions down here in Florida this week kind of went off the rails. And so I'm not surprised that they got tabled to the next meetings, which are in a couple months in Minneapolis.
Well, I think it's a fairly simple, maybe simple's too strong a word here, but I think it is a fairly simple solution. If it's not at the line of scrimmage, then you can push, right? If you have forward progress and you're 15 yards downfield, then forward momentum, as long as everyone's keeping their feet moving, you can continue the play. But if you're at the line of scrimmage, offensively or defensively or special teams, you cannot push someone in the back. Like that to me should be the solution of this.
And I don't necessarily disagree, but that doesn't sound like based on what George was saying there, this thing seems to be headed to they're not going to ban it, or they're going to go back to the rule where you can't push wherever you are on the field. By the way, you know what? I get why this is a discussion, and it certainly does seem like somewhat of a scary play. Like it's just inevitable before one of these quarterbacks gets knocked out for the season on one of them. Do you know how many plays that the tush push accounted for in all the plays in football last year? 0.29% of all plays run. 0.29%. It seems to be a lot of discussion about a play that, while it gets a lot of attention, it doesn't even really happen that much.
That's fair.
I don't know.
I think
felt like it was happening every other play in the playoffs.
It did seem like that, but fine. I think it's actually more interesting. I don't think a running back going down the field who is now fighting for the last couple of inches that he can get should get the benefit of a 350-pound dude flying in there and smacking him forward. That's not the football that I want to watch. I mean, or maybe I'll enjoy watching because it's insanity, but I don't think that doesn't seem right to me. So I'm totally fine with not being able to push all the way down the field and at the goal line or you got to do it on your own, man. That's what this is. Blocking in front of you, run on in. You don't get 6 people behind you pushing you through. Great job by the Eagles figuring this out. They're a phenomenal at it. But it's at some point, to what you just said, Hoge, some quarterback is going to tear their ACL in the middle of that thing, and it's going to be a nightmare.
Or, your center,
right.
Or an important offensive lineman. But, the teams that are running this, they're making the choice to do that. And they know the risks. So, I mean, look, I'm not surprised. It was a 16-16 vote, so they tabled the whole discussion for a couple months. I came down here thinking that this was not going to pass, and I wasn't even sure. There was more support for banning it than I anticipated. And so now and you heard the case there from George, who was one of the owners up there talking on it. So I think I would have to say that I think that this probably eventually ends in it getting banned. It's just a matter of when that happens. Does it happen in 2 months in Minneapolis, or do they let it ride for another season and then they come back here next year and ban it? But um, was sort of a surprising development for me this week down here in the meetings that it has this much support to ban it.
I'm not surprised. It's not football. It's rugby. And I understand everybody says like, "Oh, well, you know, just stop it." I get that, but it's not football. It's rugby. By definition, it's a rugby scrum. And credit to the Eagles, they are dominant at it. But it is not football. And then when you get into a game or you're in the Super Bowl or you're in the NFC Championship and it's getting ran 15 times, like I might as well be watching rugby. And so like for me, I want to watch football. I want to see running backs with the ball. When you talk about putting a guy in danger, it's not just the center. I mean, how many times now are we seeing guys try to time the snap and they're launching themselves before the snap? And we had like, it became a mockery. Was it in the Super Bowl? Like 6 straight penalties in a row where they were going to literally award the other team a touchdown if they kept doing it.
The NFC Championship game, the Commanders were doing that.
It's a mockery, and somebody with the way launching before pre-snap's going to get somebody hurt, or the quarterback ducking his head down and somebody coming in crashing down on the back of his neck. So you can say it's soft or whatever, but for me, it's more that it is about the health and safety, fine, but to me, it's more about it's not football, it's rugby.
Yeah, and by the way, to those people out there playing rugby, my guy Daniel the Boat Ports dominating at the University of Iowa. His dad's a fine fellow, good old Tim Ports.
The Boat?
They call him the Boat, man. Daniel the Boat Ports. Guys, I don't know what
and Mike Gibson.
Is he related to my wife?
Might be.
That's her maiden name.
Mike Gibson here in the chat saying rugby has strict
weird turn. I don't know.
Rugby has strict rules about the scrum, and when the ref stops it, NFL doesn't have any of that. They should look to rugby if they're going to keep it and adopt their safety standards. So I thought that's interesting too.
Well, one last point on this, because I think I mostly agree with everything you're saying, Greg, on the actual play. One thing that has me a little uncomfortable coming out of this, though, I think. And you heard George mention it himself in there. They don't actually have the injury data to support this. They have a feeling and they have a fear that I think is valid. But even in the press conference yesterday, they admitted they're like, this is more about preventing something that hasn't happened yet versus something they're trying to stop that they know is an injury problem. That kind of opens up Pandora's box on a lot of things in football, though, because you could make that argument about a lot of things. And so that makes me a little uneasy that what's the next thing that we're just going to be worried about before we actually have injury data on that supports it, that they start changing.
Well, and that, underlines the great point being made by Carm Sweet Bippy, who's just saying, basically let him play. And, me and Carm Sweet Bippy were a little bit off on this one, but in general, Sweet Bippy and I are right there together. Like, hey, man, it's football. Sign a waiver. It's dangerous out there. You knew it. They knew it back in the 40s. It was dangerous. And I'm talking about the 1940s. And it's dangerous.
All right,
now.
well, then defensive players should be able to, at the line of scrimmage, push defensive linemen in their back. And special teams on field goals, we go back to pushing the guy trying to block the field goal in the middle of the defensive line. Then open it up for everything then. Not just one.
I agree. 100% agree with you, and that is my actual take on this. That just make it consistent across the board. I just want people to know the most spirited debate on this entire topic the last few days actually happened in a conference room on the mezzanine level of the Breakers between Jeff Joniak and myself. We were waiting to talk to Ryan Pohl yesterday, and a fight almost broke out over this. And that was my point. And Joniak just wants people to stop messing with his game, as he puts it. I just want the rules to be consistent across the board. But he wanted a yes or no answer from everybody in the room on the ban, and I refused to give him that. I said it was more nuanced than that. I went full Adam Hoge on him, and that was my argument, Greg, and then he was mad at me.
Okay, well, if he wants to fight, and I got your back, and if, Tom Thayer, Joniak versus Hoge and Braggs, we'll find out. and then the winner gets the rule however they want. You can officiate.
Sure. And listen, Joniak and I have a weird thing going on, so I feel awkward right now because I want to support Jeff. But I'm on Team Hoge here. Joniak needs to quit bullying people around at the owners' meetings, and he needs to look in the mirror.
Was this fight at a Starbucks?
No. Although
that's too bad.
You never know these days at these NFL events. Things can get crazy.
That's right.
All right, Ho, you can get out of here. You've worked long and hard enough. I don't know what time your flight is, but and maybe you're just staying another night, as you mentioned earlier. But assuming that it is coming up, why don't you get over there safely and tell the fam that we say hello. Great job this week.
Yeah, great job to all you guys too. Everybody back in Chicago, because there's a huge team effort to get all the content that we put out this week, both on this show and on social media and all over our YouTube channel. So, and there's plenty more coming too. And I'll kind of organize all my thoughts from the last few days, and I'll be there tomorrow. Hopefully, if the weather cooperates, I'll be there tomorrow, and we'll have a lot more coverage tomorrow as well.
Yeah, recap and Fran Duffy tomorrow as we'll get into the draft, and then Carman's got a phenomenal topic that's been pushed back now 4 days. It's probably going to make it.
Getting bumped.
Probably going to make it to next week at this point, but don't worry about it. That's fine. I understand. I'm. It's not about me. It's about the show. Even though I'm going to be bringing a great topic to the show, and I'm talking to myself right now. So let's get back. Hoge, see you later, buddy.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. But hey, Hoge's leaving, but you're not. Stay right there. We got a couple more little topics we want to hit here.
Yeah.
And as we get to the top of the hour, hit the like button one more time for Hoge on the way out and his coverage this week. It was a great job by Adam down there.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously there's so much talk about the stadium and everything else, like equity and whether McCaskey's going to sell. But they also talked a little bit about, the team, the coach, and the draft.
Well, shout out. Are we doing off-season champs right here? Or are we doing the other way?
Yeah, let's start with the Ben Johnson one because
Okay.
I thought this was interesting. Then we can get to the champs. We are the champions of this show.
This George has got a he's on it right now. He's paying attention to what's going on. So all right, here this is George on the head coach of the Bears.
Yep.
All right, here we go.
I've seen him in the weight room, and I think frenetic would be the best description. He's intense. You can see the competitiveness. He looks like he enjoys life, which is important for an NFL head coach. And his resume speaks for itself. So we're very excited about everything he brings to Chicago.
All right, see, this is unsolicited advice for you, George, that you don't really need from yours truly at the Carm. But when you check out a dude in the weight room, your head coach, and you see him crushing it, you could show a little bit more excitement than that. You could, you almost, did you see Ben Johnson in the weight room? This dude is crushing it. He is putting up 350 pounds as he's getting ready for work. He's got that intense look. He said it so calmly. I think you need to look, if you're really going to go down the, looking at your head coach in the weight room, lifting weights and doing everything that he does, I think you could be excited.
Well, it's like the Joey Swole, Joey Swole, the fitness guy that shames people for filming in the gym. And have you ever seen these videos on like TikTok or Instagram?
You got to do better.
Yeah. Mind your own business. You got to do better. Yeah.
It was so calm the way he said he's very.
Joey Swole's a Bears fan and a Cubs fan, by the way.
All right, can we?
But
that's
but I like it. Ben Johnson, the intensity. That's what frenetic.
He's very frenetic in the weight room. And we like that here at
I like it.
Hallis Hall. The next one's even better, as he's apparently reading Brad Biggs and taking notes, paying attention. As we get to the top of the hour, though, a reminder, our draft party is coming up here when hopefully they'll draft a frenetic player. And Greg Braggs is going to be frenetic at the draft party.
I will be.
And, come on out, 24th and 25th. We're going back-to-back, baby. Not just the first round. We do round 2 and 3 also. 6 to 10, 115 Bourbon Street. All you can eat, all you can drink. How do you get into that? well, you become a diehard, baby, and you get the discount. That's a sweet way to do it. You can do it either way, but I would recommend becoming a diehard. Thank you to everybody who's watching us on Samsung TV or any TV out there, Roku, as we get to the top of the hour here. Become a diehard on the way out. It is a phenomenal way to get yourself a free T-shirt, all the discounts, support the show. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. And also, come on out to the draft party, baby.
Please come to the draft party. It's going to be every year. It is one of the most fun events, if not the most fun event we do. And anybody can come, diehard or not. But if you are a diehard, as Mark said, you get 20% off. And then also, if you're a diehard, you get access to our Bears 100, which is a draft guide of, Bears needs only. Adam Hoge and Fran Duffy and all sorts of people here. Patrick Norton that work here at CHGO and CHGO Bears been putting that database together along with Fran Duffy's draft database. You get access to that, his draft guide that he's been working on for months, and it's extensive, and that's exclusive to you as a diehard if you sign up at allchgo.com/diehard.
Is Joey Swole a diehard?
I don't know. We'll have to find out.
He's only got 5 million followers.
I know. I've been wanting to get him on the show. We got to find a way. I bet you we'll see him at Wrigley this year. He's a big Cub fan. And when I see him, I'm going to run his ass down.
Apparently his real name, if you want to really get his attention, is Joseph Sergo.
Joseph Sergo.
Joey Swole. Joseph Sergo.
Swole.
Quick internet search got me there. Do we have the big guy clip too? Do we have
We
that?
have the big guy clip.
I could get it in a second.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a quick clip.
All right.
I don't know.
This is a good one too. But first up, let's hear from George as he he's kind of getting tired of the shots here, and even acknowledging it though at the same time. That
I honestly think it's more so. I think he's getting tired of, making promises in the offseason that don't live up. I think everybody's
That's
kind
true.
of because like even me as a fan now that leans more positive, leans more towards the Kool-Aid. I always got my pom-poms out as the honey bear, but even I have kind of found myself now like we are just so scarred now and beaten to this point. Like it's like putting your hand on the stove and just continuing to do it. So that's kind of the vibe I get from George here.
Yeah, he's basically acknowledging we need to win more games. So here we go. George on being off-season champs.
I assume that, like most fans, you kind of go through the cycle of the year. This is kind of always the hopeful part of the calendar. Does it feel different to you right now, though, in terms of that level of hope you might have for what this year could be both on the field and off the field with the stadium as well?
Well, your colleague Brad Biggs, who didn't bother to show up here,
Tell me about it.
said, not that I ever read him, that the Bears won the offseason again. And the underlying message there is that means nothing unless you win in season. So we've made the moves that we think are necessary and proper to put us in a position to win, but we got to deliver in September and beyond.
So he reads Brad Biggs. Mm-hmm. He loves CHGO Bears. We should have been mentioned there. That was Hoge's question for the record. He was talking to the Hoger. And, listen, he explained it to you. Being off-season champs is not good.
No.
Thanks.
And I like the message. And then he called out Biggs for not coming down to the owners' meeting.
Well, Biggs is, I don't know what.
He got Biggs timed. Biggs time. You got Biggs timed once.
I've been Biggs timed. We've all been
Biggs timed.
I've been Biggs timed. But it is kind of surprising. Why wasn't Biggs time there? Have you talked to Biggs?
No, he said, he said, Brad didn't feel like making the trip down here.
I want to know why Brad didn't go. Brad's everywhere. Why didn't Brad go? Why are we out covering Biggs? Hoge greater than Biggs. These are the facts.
That's what I love about Brad Biggs, though. He's like, I don't,
doesn't need it.
All the sheep go down there and they're like running for all these questions. And Biggs is like, I already know all the answers to all these questions, you peasants.
Maybe.
That's Biggs.
Maybe.
He's already got all that info. He doesn't need to go down there. That's how good he is.
Wow. seems like maybe something else is going on. But regardless, there was George on being the off-season champs, and yeah, they want more, baby. They want to do better. I think, yeah. Well, nah, we're good. I think it's okay. We can.
You know what I want to say about Finks?
Okay, let's do Finks.
We
Let's
do
do
a
Finks.
Fink.
Okay, so this got. What was the question? Can you remember the question?
It was just about what moves do you like the most from this offseason?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. So this is George. This is good. George, on what moves he likes the most that the Bears have made this offseason?
Well, I'm a disciple of Jim Finks. I like the big guys. So strengthening the offensive line and the defensive line, I think is great for any team.
Shout out Jim Finks, Super Bowl 85 Bears. Shout out the big guys. George likes the big guys.
Yep. Hey, trench drunk. We're all getting trench drunk. I like how me and George are on the same wavelength.
You like the big guys too.
Yeah, I'm trench drunk right now. I like the big guys, and no more hype. No more selling this whole thing in the offseason. Let's do it in the regular season. I like that George and me are on the same wavelength.
What about the little guys? You don't like the little guys?
Big guys only.
Big guys only?
Yeah. Like Paul Papp said, nobody under 285 pounds. Everybody over it. That's it.
What about Caleb? He's a little guy.
We already got Caleb. So we got all the little guys.
You want big guys?
Yeah, that's it.
Big guy.
Big guys.
Big guys. All right. There
My
it is.
guy. Big guys.
All right. Fun show today. Good job, Hoge. Good job, Greg. Good job, Steven.
Good job, Katie.
Good job, Katie, stepping in here.
Bullpen relief.
Swear
The
to God,
closer.
feel like
the
she-
closer.
I think she was here last night till 2 in the morning. Now here helping out with us as Steven is dealing with some issue somewhere. $10 super chat on the way out from Isaac Siegel. New mayor of Arlington has said he wants the Bears in town and carefully planning with the team on a potential project, as well as supported by locals voting for him, shows public support. Yes, most people, I think, in Arlington Heights, by my scientific Carman poll, want the Bears to come to Arlington Heights.
Nice job, Katie.
Good job, Katie.
Katie, filling in.
Can't see behind the scenes, but Steven left. And
That
came
was
back.
some of the best producer work we've had.
That mic doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
You will listen to every word I have to say.
Oh, this is a great show. This is it right here.
Yeah. All right. Greg, good job today, buddy.
We did it.
Yeah.
We did it.
Shout out to Crystal, who's in the chat saying hi to Katie. And just, I think Crystal just deserves a shout out every single day. You too,
Crystal.
Matt Nagy. Great performance today. Brittany, great to see you back in here.
Yep.
Your boy Boogie.
Yep.
My
everybody.
guy.
You gonna just start naming off everybody.
Why not? Kenny
Sweet
Powers.
Bippy.
Sweet Bippy was phenomenal today.
Giggities.
Giggity's dominated.
Yeah.
Everybody was in there.
Brisker, I guess quote tweeting our tweet about him being ready to go, confirming the reporting from CHGO Bears. So shout out to Jaquan Brisker. Welcome back.
Oh, and actually, one thing we got to do to wrap up the show, I was at the Bulls game last night.
Mm-hmm.
Saw my guy, Jarrell, and his family. And his son was there, and he's about 11 years old, and he doesn't really love the show. And I said, well, what can we do to make it better for you? And I said, what do you, what sports are you into? What do you like at school? And he said, I like science. And I said, so I got you. We'll talk science on the show today.
Weird Science.
Weird Science was a great movie, filmed across the street from me, by the way.
Yeah.
They tore down the house, but they were handing out buttons. I was like 12 years old. I'm like, what is this? What movie are you filming? Weird Science.
No kidding.
Yeah, that happened.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Weird Science. Great,
See, there's the science talk.
No, but I thought you would aren't you a big Bunsen burner guy?
No.
No? You're really? What about the science of bricklaying? Don't you have a science? Isn't there a science to that?
Yeah, there's a science to it. I mean,
were you good? Did you pay?
I was, like if we're going scientific, with my scientific mind.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Pineapple Express when they make the cross joint? And he says it's very scientific. So I used to make that like once a year. and then you burn like the two sides in the front, and it in the smoke filtration. Yeah,
Steven, are you good at science? I don't know what he's talking about.
I'm talking about. I'm talking about weed.
This is for an 11-year-old.
I'm sorry.
Jesus.
Don't 11-year-old me. Shout out. I don't want to hear it. Don't 11-year-old me.
Jarrell, listen to me. When
it's a trifecta. Thank you, you boy boogie.
Should I tell a story from science class my freshman year, or should I not tell a story from science class my freshman year?
I'm concerned.
They're both. Neither of them are very positive, but let's just say this: shout out to Mr. Hieronymus, the great Hieronymus, who lived in Wrigley Field at the time, and that's when This was right around 1988 when the Cubs were putting in lights, and Hieronymus was fighting for the neighborhood, and Hieronymus did not like me. He didn't like me at all.
Pizzatola, what's the science to telling Carm to shut up?
Hey, I said we were talking science today, Pizzatola. I'm not deliver for my 11-year-old and the Jarrell family, so we're talking science. No. But so Hieronymus was telling, we were doing anatomy in science class. All right? So we're moving through the anatomy.
Uh-huh.
And we're mentioning all the female anatomy.
All right.
Yes. And my friend my friend behind me starts laughing hysterically at as the anatomy talk was going on. So then I start laughing because he's laughing, and then Hieronymus went off on me. He just walked right out. He's like, "Yes, women, they happen." And I was like, I know I was fine, Hieronymus. It was the guy behind me, and I was laughing at him. It's nothing. I got nothing. I was being professional until he started laughing. And that will conclude our science talk because Hieronymus taught me. Hieronymus.
Nice job.
The great Hieron dog.
And I'm going to give my shout out to Roosevelt. I was at Texas Roadhouse, as we often frequent in beautiful Northwest Indiana, a.k.a. the region. And I was at Texas Roadhouse enjoying their amazing and magical bread with the cinnamon butter and the ribeye medium rare, some shrimp. It's just a beautiful thing, and it's just a magical place. And Roosevelt came by our table and introduced himself and said he's a big fan of the show. So shout out to Roosevelt.
You want one more Hieronymus story?
I mean, I have a meeting, but I would love to hear another Hieronymus story.
Last Hieronymus story. We were heating up a test tube in science class, Jarrell. We're heating up the test tube. Hieronymus was doing this. He's got the Bunsen burner. He's heating up the test tube. Mm-hmm. Test tube explodes. Glass everywhere, shards, and it got, I think, one girl like maybe in the face or something happened. She was having, she was scared,
right,
as she should have been. And there was a young man whose name I will leave off this. He starts yelling, "Sue the school, sue the school, sue the school." Hieronymus, back in the day when you could do these things, took him by the neck, put him up against the wall, and was like, "Sue the school, sue the school." And then that was the end of that conversation. Hieronymus.
Nice job, Hieronymus.
Who broke the test tube, still threw down. Hieronymus.
Stand up for what's right. We used to be a proper country.
Can I do a normal shout out here?
Yeah, sure.
Shout out to Palos Hills Mayor Jerry Bennett, who's a fan of the show.
Yeah.
My dad went to go pay a bill, bumped into him, watches the show every day.
All right.
He just extended his run 44 years as Palos Hills Mayor.
Well, let's see if we can get the Bears to Palos Hills.
44.
Yeah. Let's go.
And shout out to whoever did that yesterday, by the way, the Naperville Bears and the April Fool's joke. That was a good job.
Oh, yeah. Carm was getting 100 texts from it.
Well, or one, but, I embellished in the moment. 3, actually.
You told me a bunch.
Yeah, 3.
Then I embellished your embellishment.
Yeah, it was a bad job.
All right.
Job.
Enough of the Meatball Meltdown Hour.
Meatball Meltdown Hour. I haven't had one in a while. Felt good to do it. We got to get out of here. We got a meeting in 38 seconds. We had to get one in
before Hoge came back tomorrow, if he comes back.
Hoge back tomorrow, if he gets his flight. Ton to do tomorrow. Fran Duffy on the show, and a little more, all the things that weren't talked about from the owners' meetings this week as well. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you. Tell somebody that you love the CHGO Bears podcast today. Do that, and that would be so sweet. Have a great rest of your day.
We all silly like the mayor.